All right, let's talk about node.js. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take your first steps with Node. Now, I'm recording this technically for people who are in my class, but if you're out there on YouTube watching, just keep in mind that the intended audience is an intro web programming class. And if you're in that class, you've just downloaded and installed Node on your platform of choice, which for many of you will be a Mac platform, some of you Windows, and still a few of you are using Linux. And this is the Node download site. There certainly is a getting started document here. You can use that if you'd like. I'm going to go through a couple of different things. I'm not just going to show you how to use Node, though. I'm going to talk a little bit about the command line in general, because Node is a program that is run or invoked from a command line, not by finding it in your applications folder and clicking on it. So it's a little bit different, and I'm going to talk a bit about how to use these command lines to do a couple of different things that you need to be able to do to run a web server. Remember, Node is a JavaScript environment for writing web servers. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've downloaded and installed Node successfully, and if you've done that, you probably are wondering where it is. If you've gone over to your applications folder or your programs directory on a Windows machine, and you look through what you have, you'll find there's nothing in there that corresponds to Node. So you're probably wondering where it is. Let me introduce you to the terminal on a Mac, also known as the command line on a Windows machine, or if you're using a more recent version of Windows, you have something called the PowerShell. I think probably many of you with Windows at this point have that, in fact. So I'm going to do this mostly for Mac. I'll show you a little bit about what PowerShell is on a Windows platform. I'll talk about it just a little bit, but it's mostly analogous to what we're going to do. So as I said, Node is a program that has to be run and used from the command line. So if you're wondering what the command line really is, you have a program on your Mac called Terminal. Some of you know what it is, some of you have never heard of it. It's located in your utilities folder, and there's a couple different ways to get to it. You can obviously use the Go menu, and you can go to utilities right here, or at least on a Mac, you can hit Command, Shift, and U, and that'll just open up the utilities folder directly. Here's mine, and there's your terminal program right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just open that up, okay? And mine's actually already running, so I'm going to go ahead and just make a new window, and this is what you'll see. Okay, when you do that, your default window will come up white like this. You have an option of changing the color of it if you want to. Up in the preferences menu, you can see there are many different options for what you want your window to look like. You can also just create a new shell right here and change, and under new window you can pick the look that you want, but from here it's probably a little easier to see what they're going to look like. This is a lot of times when you see people quote unquote hacking, and you see them typing in sort of a black window such as this, and they're typing commands and they're looking at aspects of their operating system that you might have been unaware of, and you see lots of text on the screen like this. This is what they're doing. They're working in what's called a command line or a shell. And it turns out that, historically speaking, this is what computers were for a long, long, long time, until we got these graphical interfaces where we can point and click with a mouse. I think sometime, I don't know, around the early 80s, mid-80s maybe. This is what using a computer involved. It was all typing commands on the command line. And to a large extent, this is sort of still where it's at. If you really want to do anything sophisticated, and you want to be a programmer, or even if you just want to, I don't know, hack the back end of your computer and do lots of really cool things, then you got to know this. So there are a series of commands that you can issue when you're looking at a command shell such as this. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of the key commands that you need. There's obviously some really dangerous things that you can type. It's rather easy for you to wipe out your entire operating system on your computer with a few bad commands if you're not careful. Although there's no way you could do that by accident. You'd actually have to be trying, I suppose. And but at the same time, you can do all sorts of other interesting things. Like you can look for secret files. You can see hidden things. You can write a script that will find every file that, I don't know, begins with the letter I everywhere on your hard drive and renames it so it starts with the letter J. I don't know why you'd want to do that, But all sorts of things are possible when you work in this command shell, and you have to, in fact, to use Node. So I'm going to introduce you to a little of this command shell stuff today. I don't like the black window though, and the text here is a little small and hard to see. So in fact, I have a few configurations for bigger fonts, and I'm going to choose this one. I'll make a new page. So this is the same thing, same kind of terminal, but you can just see it. It's a little bit bigger and nicer for the presentation. All right, so let me close this, and we'll just work with this. So this is a direct door into your computer, and from this shell, you can get to secret directories and places that you can't get to by just kind of clicking on, the window, the desktop or the Finder or whatever you want to call it. If you open up a typical Finder window or an Explorer's window on a Windows platform, you can browse around and you can see some stuff, and you can go in your users directory and you can look at your pictures and whatever. But there are a lot of directories, otherwise known as folders, but you just can't get to those from this little graphical interface. But from here, you can get to all kinds of stuff. And so Node is a program that's made to be accessed by people that work in this kind of an environment. All right, so let's talk about this environment a little bit and show you. And again, if you're on a Windows platform, then what you're looking for is the command line. It's probably, as I said, it's probably called PowerShell. That's probably what you want to find and open it. If you're curious how to get there, one of the things you can do is just go to your run prompt on the bottom left-hand corner of your Windows machine and on the desktop. And then, so if you go there, you'll get a little pop-up, and you can type in the run prompt, you can type CMD. And that's short for command. And that'll probably open up a black window for you that looks a lot like this. And then you can type some commands. Now, the commands for Windows on Windows are a little bit different than the ones are on Mac. And I'll talk about, there's really only one that's different that we care about for today. All right, so for starters, the first thing I'm going to do now that I have this window open is I'm going to check to see if Node is installed and running or runnable. And the way I'm going to do that is literally just to type Node and then put a space with a -v. And that's short for version. V is short for version. And then I'll hit return. And if I do in fact have Node installed, it should come back with a version number of it. You probably have a later one than I do. I would imagine you're on 10 or 11, having just installed it. Mine is, a year and a half old. But you should get that. If you don't see that when you type Node-V, then we need to talk. Either you didn't install Node properly, or something called your path environment variable is not set to reflect the location of the node that you just installed. So if you fall into that category, if you know that you installed it, if you're sure you installed Node, but this doesn't do anything, and you get like command node not found or something like that on the next line, some kind of error, then we need to talk. But I'm going to imagine that most people, at least in my class, are going to be successful at getting some kind of version number when they see this. By the way, you can also type node --version, and you get the same thing. This is just the -v is just short for that. Okay, so I'm going to assume we're good. If not, contact me. This is installed, and we can run it. Now, what can I do with Node exactly? What's the how does it work? What do I do? Well, the first thing I'm going to show you is I'm just going to make a program, a little basic nothing program. I'm going to make Hello World basically for Node and run it, just so you can appreciate that it's there and it works. All right, so here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to come open here. I have Atom open, right? This is my text editor, Atom, and I've actually already typed console.log hello world. Okay, and that's my one-line, most basic Node program. This is JavaScript syntax, and I'm going to try to run it. Okay, first thing is I'm going to save it. And I have to pick a place to put it. I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm just going to call it node.hello.js. So we'll save there in that location. I already have one there. I'm just going to replace it. And there it is. What I want to do now is run that program. From here, the question is how, how do I do that? How do I even find where that program is? Where did I just save this thing? Well, I saved it to my desktop, but how the heck do I get there from here? What do I do? So the terminal has a handy command for listing all of the files and folders that are in the current location where you are. I am currently in my home directory. I'll show you what that looks like in Finder. So here's a Finder window. On a Mac, at least, I have a users directory. That's me. I go in there. This is my home directory. I'm now inside of this. And you'll see a variety of things in this directory. All right, these are all folders. Again, I call a folder a directory. It's an older term for it. I'll use those words interchangeably. So you can see all the stuff that I have in there. One of them is called desktop. In fact, I can go look inside desktop, and I can see all the things that I have. And look, there's node hello.js. That's the thing that I want to run. But unfortunately, I can't just click it to run it. It doesn't work that way. Okay, I have to find it from here and write a command to run it. And you're probably wondering, why all the fuss? Why are we doing this? Well, as a web programmer, this is how you need to start working. This is the next level. So, okay, we got to do it. We got to do it. How do I get to my desktop to this location from here? And let me just kind of take you through the process again. So I opened up this window, this Finder window, and it took me to this Macintosh hard drive. In there, I went into my users folder. In there, I went into my name. That's my home directory. And then I found desktop, right? And I went into there, and I found node hello.js. And I'm just trying to do the same thing from here. Well, what I'm going to do right now is just issue a command in this window to list the contents of the folder that I'm in. And you're going to see that I'm actually, because it's a brand new window that I just opened up, you're going to see that I'm actually defaulted to being in this home directory. I'm in my name, this place in here. You're going to see all this stuff that you see here in this window. Here, watch. The listing command is ls. That's just short for list. That's it, ls. Now, if you're on a Windows computer, ls may not work. You guys are going to want to type dir instead. So Windows dir ls on a Mac or a Linux computer. Now, if you're using the newest Windows PowerShell, which I have no idea what version of Windows that is now shipping with that, ls will work for you. And that's actually nice, because it's nice to have a standard syntax. Right? dir is kind of an old command from the days of MS-DOS back in like the 1988. So ls or dir, right? Let's see what's there. Let's list the content. There we are. Okay. So here in the terminal, I get a little printout of all of the things that are in the, now if you look, you'll notice they correspond, right? I have my Python Anaconda folder, my Android Studios project, my applications, so on and so forth. And you can see that's all the same stuff that I have here, just kind of moving on down the line. It's all right there. Okay, so it's just another way of accessing stuff. There we go. Now, great. How do I get into there? I want to go into there so I can see that thing, that node hello.js. How do I do that? All right, well, down here at the prompt, after the printout, okay, I type in one of the more common useful commands that you're going to type all the time, and that is cd, which is short for change directory. Change directory. So cd, and then you just literally just type the name of the folder or directory you want to go in. So from this list over here, I want to go into desktop. So I type in cd desktop. Right? And if I get it wrong, if I go, right, and I hit return, it just says, well, sorry, no such file or directory. So you can't mess it up. So I got to get it right. So cd desktop. Now, actually, I don't even have to type the whole thing. I can type a few letters and then hit tab, and it will guess the rest. Unless there's two folders that begin with desk, then it won't know which to pick. But I only have desktop. So I literally just typed in DE and hit tab, right? It's a super time saver. And that's it. So CD space desktop. On a Windows platform, it's going to be the same exact thing. CD, same thing, and then the name of the directory. I hit return. And now you can see that my prompt changes, and it shows me where I am. Desktop. See, before it just said tilde. Tilde is a shortcut, or it's a shorthand symbol for my home directory. That's what tilde means. And now I'm not. Now I'm in desktop. So that means that if I now enter ls, again, to list all the stuff that's there, I'll see the stuff on my desktop now. So here we are. That's the command. It's a little hard to follow sometimes where it jumps to, but you can just kind of look down all the way through and keep going. You can see some of the things I've been working on. I'm fixing my lawnmower. Anyway, if we come down just a little bit further, you can see right there, there's node hello.js. So I'm there. I found it. Okay. All right. So now it's time to run it. Again, on a Windows or a Mac platform, it's going to be the same thing. What you do is you just type node space and then the name of the file you want to run. And this is called node hello.js. Right? So that's what I type, and then I hit return. But I don't actually have to type the whole thing. I can just type a couple of letters and hit tab. And again, it guesses what it is. Okay. And now I'm going to hit run or return, and it will run the program. And there it is. It did it. It ran it. It printed hello world. Okay. It doesn't do much, but it worked. It ran. So you type node, because that's the command to run the node interpreter, and then the name of the file that you want to run, and it runs it. All right. We're not actually going to write a web server tonight in this video. I'm just going to show you how to kind of move around a little bit and invoke the node command to actually have it do something like we just did. Now, a couple of really key, crucial, important points that you can't miss. The first one is this. Don't put spaces in file names. Spaces are bad. If I had taken this and decided to call it save as, here we go, let's rename it. Let's call it my first node program.js, and we'll save it right to the desktop. Okay, so save. Let's type ls again. Maybe make sure it's there, right? Just to make sure. Okay, we go and it says, oh, there it is. Yep, I see it. There it is. Right, my first node program.js. Now I'm going to run it. So I come down here and I say node my first. That was interesting. Let's try that again. Didn't even seem to guess it. I just wanted to guess it. I was hitting tab a couple times. No, that didn't work. So that's not good. All right, so something's going on. All right, we'll type out the whole thing. My first node program.js. Let's see what happens when we type it. Go. Okay. Uh-oh. So something's wrong. Cannot find module. Not sure what's going on here. Well, actually, I'll tell you what's going on. What's going on is you can't put spaces in file names, because on the command line, when you do that, every time you put a space, it's actually interpreted as meaning something. And the command you've issued here is node. Node is the command, and then you're going to put a file name. But if the file name has a space, after the my, it thinks that, I don't know, the file name maybe is called my, and then you're issuing some other commands to follow it up. So spaces, because they mean something in this terminal window, are bad to put in file names. All right. Now there are ways around it. If you want to, you can go back here and you can put this whole thing in quotes. I strongly don't advise you to do this. And you can try to run it, and it works. Another thing that you can do is you can preface each space with a backslash, which is what's called an escape character. So it means don't, that's not here. Let's try that again. It means don't treat the space as a space. Treat it as part of the, basically, part of the file name. So we'd go back and we'd put a backslash there, and we'd put a backslash. Well, this is horrible, having to type all this backslashes. Now you hit return and it runs. Okay. So there are ways around it, but don't do that. If you feel the need to save a file name with lots of words, then use underscores. Like this. and then there's no spaces, and you won't run into that problem. Okay? In fact, you can always tell when you start getting files from people that are programmers versus people who are not. You can sort of tell, because people who actually program and work on the command line like this, they know not to put spaces in file names. So it's a good idea if you stop doing it too. All right, so all right, there we are. It ran great. Now, a couple other tricks I'm going to show you while you're here, so you know what's going on. The first thing is, you're probably wondering how I could just get it all to just print so quickly without having to type it. In fact, I can recall a history of every command I've ever typed in this command shell since I opened it by using the up and down arrows on the bottom right of the keyboard. This should work in a Windows and a Mac environment as well. I could just keep typing, so the up arrow will show me, it'll go back in history to show me everything I've ever typed, and then the forward arrow back to the end, the other direction. So I can just recall things instantly if I want to run them again. That's really nice because I don't have to keep typing them. All right, so a couple of shortcuts. The tab key I've already mentioned, and the up and down arrow keys really they're time savers. Okay, so that's one thing that I want to show you. Another trick, if you type ls-a, ls or listing is a complicated command that actually has a lot of options. You can do lots of different things when you list the contents of a directory. ls-a is just adding a little extra flag that means list all, including hidden files. So if I type this, you can kind of go up here and see that there are files that are listed by dot and then the name of the file, right? You could see them all here. And those are hidden files. Most of those things are created by software, unbeknownst to you. Some of them are actually installed by demo software, so that they contain little bits of information such as dates that identify when the demo software was installed, so that that it expires after a certain amount of time. Some of these things contain crucial information for software to run. I'm not suggesting you just kind of go and start deleting these things, but you just be aware that there are files that you can't see in your Finder. You will never be able to see, at least not without some type of additional utility that you might install. You wouldn't be able to see these files in your typical Explorer or Finder windows. All right, so I'm really just saying that to kind of say, well, there's a world of your computer out there that maybe you're not aware of, and this is a good time to start getting acquainted with it. So ls-a shows all, and yes, any file that begins with a dot is hidden, at least in a Unix file system such as Mac or Linux. I don't know if that's true in Windows. Somebody can tell me probably, but so that's list-all. You can also say list-l, which will show you a more complicated list of everything. That I'm looking at my desktop right now, so you can see there's all sorts of things in here. These are the same files that I've always had in there. You can see my first Node program and Node hello, it's all there. But you're like, well, it's all, whoa, what is this, right? And you have some important information here. These are listings of permissions for each directory and each file. Who can read that directory or file, who can write to it, and who can execute it. And this information starts to become important when you start developing for the web, because you have to make sure that the stuff that you're putting there is not writable by people. You don't want the outside world to be able to just kind of write to your public web directory. You want them maybe to be able to read it, or you want your web server to be able to read it. But so there's some complicated stuff involved with these permissions. Fortunately, it's probably not anything that at this stage of the game we have to get into. I'm just showing you that there's a lot of stuff that you can do. By the way, if at any time this gets overwhelming and you're like, gosh, I wish my window looked just nice, you can type clear. Right? On a Windows platform, it used to be CLS in Command Shell. I don't know in PowerShell if it's also clear now or if it's still CLS. That won't work here. All right. So that's something you can do. Another thing you can do from time to time is if you kind of forget like where you are in the tree of files and folders that are your computer, like where am I? I'm lost. I forget where I am. Of course, you can just look right there, right? But if you forget, you can type PWD, which is short for path of working directory. This is your working directory, the path to it. Where am I? And if you type that, you get everything. You get a printout of the path or the trail to get from the root of your hard drive down to where you are. So that can be a handy command from time to time. pwd. All right. So one other thing. So if I want to navigate around and see some other stuff on my computer and find things that I've put there, I need to know how to move around inside this shell. So I've shown you ls, you can kind of see what's there, and then I've shown you how to change directory and go into a directory. Right now we're inside desktop, but supposing I want to go back up. I want to get back out to my user directory. I want to go back. Okay, so I mean, one quick way to get back to your user directory, at least on a Windows machine, is to type cd and then tilde, and that takes you right back immediately. But another thing that you can do, and this works, sorry, I think I say on Windows, this works on a Mac and any Unix type Linux environment. I don't know again if that works on Windows to get back to your home folder, your user directory. But one thing you can always do is you can type cd ... That means go back up a level in the folder structure. So if I go like that, it took me back to here. Okay, which is back to my home directory. So it's good to practice a couple times going back and forth. So if I go cd desktop, I go back into my desktop folder, and then if I go cd space ... that goes back up a level, and I'm back to my home directory. Now you're probably wondering, well, what happens if I keep doing that, right? What if I keep typing cd ... Let's see, where am I? cd ... Okay, now I'm back in my users directory. Let's take a look at how that works. So, okay, I'm going to hit the back arrow here in my Finder window, and so here's my users directory. So now these two match each other, right? So if I go here and I type ls, I see these things, and those match these things, right? Okay, so now can I go back again? Here I can go back again to Macintosh hard drive. I see applications, Ivory items, library system users. Right, here we go. And that's it. I can't go back anymore here. Let's see what happens if I do it here. cd ... Go back. Right? Okay. I'm at /. That's the root of the drive. Here we go. Path to working directory. Remember that? That's it. /. You can't go back anymore. We're in the same place. But watch this. If I type ls, there is a lot more here than I see here. The Mac operating system does not want to show you, as an end user who doesn't necessarily know everything about their system, some of these things. So you only get to see in your Finder window applications, Ivory items, library system user. You're probably wondering what some of these things are, right? What is Ivory items? It turns out that's actually a large sample library for a piano, for a sampled piano, in case you're wondering. All right, so you can see I've got those things here. I've got applications, Ivory items, library, network, system, users, but then there's a lot more stuff, okay? And some of these folders are things that are important to know about, and some of them probably at this stage of the game are best left untouched. Like if I said, well, what is that? What's there? Right? What if I decided to change directory and go into etc., the etc folder? What the heck could that be? And I go in there. Now I'm in there, right? And I say ls-a. Let's look at everything, right? And you start to see all sorts of things, right? There's not much hidden in here, at least not hidden by file name anyway. I mean, you can't get to it anyway from here. But there's a lot of stuff. These are all folders, and inside these folders there are files, and some of them are crucially important for the operation of your computer. So don't go messing around and deleting things inside here. Okay? But there is a world of folders and files out there that you can't see from here. Yeah, all right. There are commands to delete and copy and move from this command shell, right? But at the current time, I'm not going to show those to you. All right. all you need to do is, for the time being, is just know how to navigate. So let's go back to my desktop. So there are a couple ways to do that. I can say ls. There's a quick way, obviously. I could just type in cd tilde and it'll go right to my home directory. And then I can actually just type /desktop and it'll just take me there in one fell swoop. I can do that if I want to, and I'm there. But just to make you practice, let's make sure I'm back at the root. Yes, I am at root. I'll type ls for list. And I want to go in users. So to do it piecemeal, I'll type in cd users. Now I'm there. I'll type in ls, see where I am. Okay, that's me right there. So I'm going to go cd and type my name. It'll guess it, hit tab. I go in me in there, ls. Now I want to go to desktop. That's there. So I type in cd desktop. There I am. Now I'm back. Now I can ls and I can show all of my, so there's my node program, which I ran way back when. Node hello. Oh, it's not guessing now because there's a second one. Node. Wait a minute. Node hello. There we go. .js. And it runs hello world. Okay. That's the terminal. That's how you get around. That's some basic navigation. There are lots of other things that you can do in here. And if this is something that interests you and you want to become a hacker on your own machine, then I would suggest you just kind of go out there and start learning. There's an uncountable number of references that will teach you how to use this terminal. And there are probably maybe 20 to 30 key commands that at some point you would want to know to be able to get most things done in this kind of an environment, right? So have at it. And same thing for you Windows users out there as well. As time goes on, if you continue programming, you're going to start working in this environment more and more. But this is the environment that you have to work in to get Node to do its thing. All right, so I'm going to end this tutorial by just setting up a web project the way we're going to set it up. It's not actually going to have any actual web page in it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to set up the project and navigate to it in terminal and then run the node file. Right, here's how I'm going to do that. So here, I'll just close this window. All right, and we'll just make a whole new window just to keep it simple in Atom. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend right now that I'm making a real web project, and I'm going to have a server file inside that web project, and I'm going to use Node to serve my files. How do I do that? The first thing I want to do is pick a location. Where do I want that web project to be? So for my purposes, I'm just going to kind of stick to working with my desktop for the time being, and I'm going to put it there. Okay, so to make that happen, I'm just going to go to my desktop and I'll make a new folder. So I'm going to do that with the typical Explorer/Finder window. Desktop, here I am, inside here. Okay, so whatever you do to make a new folder, there it is. There's my untitled folder. And I will call it my first server. You can do that, or if you don't like the camel case, uppercase, lowercase thing, you can do my first server like that. There it is. Okay. Now you can actually make that directory from here if you want to. There's a command make dir for make directory. This is on Windows and Mac. And then you would type in my first. I'm not going to do it because I already did it. I already made it from here. But you can actually do it right in this environment if you don't want to go back to here. Okay. Anyway, I did it. So there it is. So we'll go here and we'll just make sure we'll type in list and I can see it right there. There it is, my first server. Okay. Now there's nothing in that folder at the time being. And to prove that to you, I'm going to cd into it. So ready? Cd my first. That's enough. Hit tab. Boom. Hit return. Now I'm in that folder. If there's any doubt, we can type path working directory and we see, yep, that's the whole path to get to where I am. There it is, my first server. Let's type in ls. There's nothing in there. Let's type in ls-a. There's nothing in there, okay? Dot dot just means the path to go back up, and dot is just a reference to this here current directory that I'm in. So nothing. All right. Now let's put something in there, right? So remember, this is going to be my web project. So what do I want to do? So the first thing is I'm actually going to, sorry, here in Atom. No, go. I do not want full screen. Go away. All right, so in Atom, here we go. There it is. I'm going to go get that folder and drag it and put it here. Now, you can't see my desktop graphically, but I'm getting it off there. I'm on a separate monitor. So I'm going to pull that over and just kind of pop it there in Atom, and it just goes right to it. So there it is, and you can see there's nothing in it. Yep, there's nothing in it. And yep, there's nothing in it. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to start putting some stuff. Let's do it. I'm going to make the files right here in Atom, in the folders right here in Atom. I can do it from here if I want to, by making new files and folders. At least I can do it from here if I want to. I'm going to do it right here in Atom. All right, first thing I'm going to do in this folder right here is make a new file. Okay, and I'm going to call that server.js. And I strongly recommend that you do the same thing. So this is going to be the server file that we're going to use Node to run. This is going to serve all of the other contents that are inside this web project. So there we go. There's server.js. I'm not going to write, I told you at the beginning of the tutorial, I wasn't going to actually write any real Node server code or anything like that. So I'm just going to right here just say console.log, and I'm just going to say, this is my first web server using node.js. And that's all I'm going to put. Okay, so it'll print it out to my command line console when I run this file, but that's all I'm going to put in there. That's it. Save. Okay, now I just created that file with Atom, but let's make sure it's actually there. So back in the command shell, I'll type in ls. There it is. Yep, now it shows up. Great. Okay, so I could actually run it, but I'm going to wait to do that. Okay. Now from here on in, it's time to build the rest of your web project the way you typically would. However, the first thing that I need you to do is make a folder, and it really needs to be called this in particular. I want you to make a folder inside the web project directory right here. Right, so right click and say new folder, and you're going to call it public, just like that. Don't make it capital, don't do just public. And there it is. It appears right here. So by convention, this is the name of the directory that you want to put all of your files in that the web server, the Node server, is going to dish out to the public. So things that are viewable, that you want the world to be able to access, that you want your server to give to any clients that come knocking, you put in public. Now you can change that, you can custom it, but I don't advise at this point you're just learning to do that. So leave it alone, just public like that. Okay. Inside here is where we're going to put all the actual HTML pages and scripts and CSS and all that other stuff. Now there is a time and a place for including things outside of public. First of all, server is outside of public, and it has to be. You don't put that in there. It cannot be inside there. So please understand that there's a tree structure here. So server and public are at the same level. Server is not inside public. If I drag it and put it inside there, that's bad. Okay, that's no good. It can't be in there. See how now we can check it with the disclosure triangle, right? So don't do that. You want to put it so it's at the same level as public. And there will be, as time goes on, there will be more and more things that are at this level that aren't in the public directory, things that you don't want the public to access. Okay, but for now, just like this. Now we're going to go inside public, right-click that, and create some folders. So I'll create a folder, and it gives me the path. It says public /, and so then I'm just going to say images, because I'm expecting it's a website. I'm going to have images, right? So, okay, there's my images folder. Great. Go back to public. Oops. Right-click, say new folder, and I'm going to call this scripts. Great. Back to public, right click, new folder, and I'm going to call this style sheets. Go. Okay, now I've got those 3 nice directories for putting content that I want to serve to the world. You don't have to have these folders, but it's for organizational purposes. Right? We've talked about, if you're in my class, you've seen this before. We were kind of building a structure like this, even though I never had a public directory. Now I need one because I have a server. Okay, and finally, in public, right here, again, right click, say, this time new file, and make index.html, just like that. Make sure you're not putting it in a folder. It's not in images, it's not in scripts, it's not in style sheets. It's right there. There it is. So now, again, the indentation is everything. So you can say to yourself, okay, what does this look like? Well, I have my first server, great. If I open the disclosure triangle, I have a public directory at the same level as a server.js file, right? This is the file where we're going to run this from Node. Now, this is a lot of important code is going to go in here. Public cannot access this file, but public will be able to access public. And inside there, we have, our images. There's nothing in there. No scripts yet, no JavaScripts, no style sheets. But I do have index.html, and it's at that very level right there. Okay? So that's what you want to build. That's the project structure we're going to use going forward for everything that we do. Back here in Terminal to wrap this up, if I type ls, you can now see I have server.js and public. If I go cd public, I can go inside there, and I can type in ls, and now I can see my 3 different folders and my file that's there. All right, now if it's time, if I want to actually run my server and get the server running and ready to accept incoming requests so it can dish out the contents of public directory, I got to run it. I got to run in server.js if I want to do that. Now I can't do it here. I can't type in node server because it doesn't seem to, I'm hitting tab, nothing's happening. I'm not in the right place, right? So I'm going to have to go cd ... Am I there? Yeah, there it is, server.js. So node server.js run, and now I get the printout. But soon, when this server.js file has real server code in it, when I type this, it'll actually start this server running, and it will just stay running, listening and waiting for incoming connections. And when it gets an incoming connection, it's going to go to the public directory and get out the file, get the file, and send it back to the requesting browser or client that asked for it. Okay, that's how this whole thing works. That's plenty of input for right now. Next time, I'm going to go back, actually write a real web server and make a simple page or 2 and have that server serve that page. All right, but first steps first. So here we go. Hopefully this has been instructive. And if you're following along from outside and you're not in my class, then hopefully this was helpful to you as well. Take care. Bye.